This is Michael Popok, LegalAF. What is going on down in Georgia? Republican MAGA care about who's going out with who and whether it impacts the indictment. What does who dates who have to do on the prosecutor side with anybody's criminal conduct? And why is it a news story at all who Fani Willis, the Fulton County District Attorney, and what she does in her private life? We unpack it, get down to the molecular level, one place on that dial. LegalAF on the MeidasTouch network. Here's a clip. Let's turn to Georgia. You got Mike Roman, who I think is in a lot of trouble based on testimony by his co-conspirator, Ken Chesbro, about his involvement in the fake elector scheme. And
remind everyone who he is and what he did, please.
Yeah. So Mike Roman was the day, election day, coordinator for Donald Trump, but he was really the mule for the fake certificates. They like to talk about ballot mules for Joe Biden, which there weren't any. But there was a mule that brought all of the certificates. These had to get into the hands of Mike Pence in order for their scheme to work. And they had problems. You know, Michigan and Wisconsin, those fake electors, they decided to mail them in. They got lost in the mail. And Mike Roman's like slapping his forehead. We need them. We need them for Mike Pence. What do we do? Make a photocopy, make a fake elector certificate. We'll use that. And then there was a whole debate between Mike Roman for the Trump campaign and Ken Chesbro, lawyer for Donald Trump, about whether there was going to be a warning label on any of the fake elector certificates or not. The warning label that Ken Chesbro said he wanted was only use these in case of emergency in the form of Donald Trump wins one of these lawsuits, which he didn't. He was 0-60, to overturn the results of the election. Only use them then. And a couple of the certificates in a couple of states have that legend, but that quickly was like invisible ink. That quickly got erased. And when Ken Chesbro said, but they don't have the legend on them that I wanted, you know, and to which Mike Roman now gave the infamous comment in emails, F them. F the fake electors. We don't care. Get me those certificates. We need those certificates. So Mike Roman's lawyer has filed like a 100-page document asking for the disqualification of Fani Willis without any evidence being attached to it, without any declarations or affidavits sworn that say that she's in a romantic relationship with the special prosecutor that she's chosen to be the lead prosecutor in the case, who's from private practice, who she deputized to run the case, Nathan Wade. And they claim that it's some sort of violation, which I don't really see, between there's he's in the yellow tie there for those that watch. Wade was in the middle of a divorce proceeding. Apparently, I don't know. Let's just say it's true. He went out with Fani Willis. I don't know what that has to do with the price of tea in China or the indictment that's been brought by her office, primarily by her in prosecuting the case. So they make this argument that sounds a lot like the attack on Clarence Thomas, which is, well, she benefited because he earned $700,000 from the budget, and then he used some of that money. He must have to take her to a trip to the Caribbean. Look, if this was a defense lawyer on the other side and an incestuous relationship with the prosecutor, and somehow that compromised someone's ethics, I would get it. But even if this were true, while salacious, because it hit the headlines that way, I don't see how it's unethical at all in terms of her, or how it puts how it imperils the indictment. What do you make of the allegations and whatever the new reporting is that we're popping up on our chat here?
I have to say, this was a yet another MAGA hit job on a strong Black woman. This absolutely felt like what just happened at Harvard with Claudine Gay, right? This just absolute double standard where you have to do a colonoscopy on a person's private life and somehow hold them to a different standard than literally everybody else. And I just don't understand why. First of all, I would bet you almost anything that they are in a relationship, because if they weren't, frankly, she would have denied it by now. So she's clearly trying to figure out how to respond to this. But what is the issue? That two people are engaged in a consensual relationship with one another. I mean, it's not like she is engaged or accused of sexual assault. Clearly, that's something that doesn't seem to be disqualifying for the MAGA people, since they want to elect that man president of the United States. Is that the issue? Or is it, I mean, don't forget, they tried to also go after her and say that she was having a sexual relationship with a gang member, right? Do you remember that? I mean, which was also preposterous and ridiculous. They're just going after her and trying to take her down. And this is what happens to women, strong women in general, and especially women of color, especially Black women. It's really outrageous, and it just looks like a hatchet job to me. The only other question is, okay, he's getting paid, and they went on vacation together. That I presumably money used was paying for the vacation. I don't really know what that issue is, but okay, so yes, he got money for a job that he actually performed and earned. So again, it's not like she's funneling money to him.
Can I make their argument for them? I'll make their argument. You'll shoot it down, but let me make their argument. She's keeping the prosecution alive, not because it has merit, but because it's lining the pocket of her boyfriend. And then that's the reason. And her judgment is, I'm making the argument. I'm not agreeing with it, being the devil's advocate. The case doesn't have merit. She's keeping it alive and has stretched it out over a year to benefit her boyfriend, to pay for the trips that she's going on with him while he's in a divorce proceeding. That's the argument.
Yeah, I suppose. I guess I would counter that by saying, as someone who used to be, I've been married to the same person my entire adult life, but he was a public servant and then he was in private practice. And I got news for you. You make a lot more money in private practice than you do as a public servant. So she pulled him from private practice to work on this case. He is not making as much as he could make in the private sector. I just don't see money being an issue. I don't see their relationship being an issue. What if they were roommates? What if they were best friends? What if they went to the gym together? I mean, what is it about a romantic relationship with somebody that is somehow causes some kind of conflict? It would be a conflict, for example, if it was the prosecution and defense attorney, right? And you're on opposing sides, right? That's a conflict, right? But I just don't understand how this in any way impacts the case. They're trying to dig stuff up about that he swore an oath of office and they didn't file it properly. I mean,
the judge already rejected that.
Yeah,
argument,
it's like
that was raised already.
Yeah, so it's like they're just looking for something to go after her.
Now, Marjorie Taylor Greene from the Northern District of Northern Georgia has decided to get involved, and she's now filed a new criminal referral on Fani Willis with Brian Kemp in his office, the governor, and the attorney general there, citing the quote unquote bombshell allegations. And I love how the press is running with this, the bombshell allegations. I agree with you. If it weren't true, she probably would say something about it. She said, as I would expect her to, she will do her litigating in the courtroom with filings. I don't think when Judge McAfee, who seems to be a pretty sober chap here and by the book, they didn't cite a rule of ethics in Georgia because there doesn't one. I don't think there's one that's applicable that would disqualify her. There's no evidence that she has in bad faith prosecuted the case or sought the indictment. There's I'll remind everybody, there was a special purpose grand jury and then an indicting grand jury that heard the evidence and indicted. She didn't indict. This isn't on information. This isn't a grand jury process, which even the Supreme Court has recognized as one of the safeguards to an out of control prosecutor, is the fact that there's a grand jury that was involved. So if she didn't have her case, and regardless of who she's going on a cruise with, the grand jury would have rejected it. So you have that going on. But look, we're spending 10 valuable minutes talking about this instead of something that's, more important about Donald Trump and his losing cases. Exactly what they wanted. And then Donald Trump pushes the button and Marjorie Taylor Greene does his bidding, or they bring Hunter Biden into Congress. Hunter Biden would not be a subject of a congressional investigation, nor would Joe Biden be the subject of a possible impeachment proceeding if there wasn't crimes allegedly committed by Donald Trump, which are the subject of a series of indictments and prosecutions. Make no mistake about it. If Donald Trump had slithered back under the rock out of which he came after he lost the election and went and did the normal thing, which is you don't hear from former presidents again. They go bury themselves in institutes. He should have just returned to business and the job of making money. If he had just done that and not decided to run again, or there was no crimes that he committed, there we would not be talking about Hunter Biden, nor would we be talking about Joe Biden. But this is what they think balances the scale in public opinion, while the guy is only running for office, as it's apparent, in order to try to avoid prosecution. And, because, to his credit, he's right. If he had just stayed home in New York running Trump organization and didn't have the ability to keep talking about the fact that he's the leading candidate for the Republican Party or whatever he says, he would have nothing to say in his defense, because you see how weak his defenses are when they're tested inside of a courtroom. That's why he loses invariably when the rubber meets the road of a judge, an appellate panel, or a jury. Donald Trump loses. Get off this kick that I keep reading, not in our audience, about Teflon Don, that he never gets hit. It's not true. He's been indicted. Trials are going to happen. He's going to lose important appellate decisions, as he has been, and all will be right in the world. And he's already losing on civil side. So anyway, that was my rant. I had to have one rant this show.
Yeah, I love your rants. Everybody loves your rants. And this episode will go down in history as you're coming out as a future dad.
I'm glad you finished that sentence. I mean, I don't mind if it was the other thing. I'm just, you're like, are you out? Are you outing me? What's happening here?
No, that's big news. It's huge.
Very exciting for the Popok family. Welcome back. We do that every week. We do it twice a week, Wednesdays and Saturdays, 8 p.m. Eastern time on this YouTube channel. Don't change that dial. You know where you want to be, right here on the MeidasTouch network. If you like lawyers who know what they're talking about at the intersection of law, politics, and justice, you've reached the right place. Wednesdays with Karen Friedman Agnifilo, as you saw there. On Saturdays, I do it with Ben Meiselas. If you know all about this kind of analysis, hard-hitting, debating that we do to teach you the law as best we can, then we thank you. Because without you, there is no network, because we're not supported by any outside investors. You are the network you've been looking for. If you don't know a thing about what I'm talking about, that was LegalAF. I am Michael Popok. And until my next hot take, and until my next LegalAF, this is Michael Popok reporting.
Thanks so much for watching. We're only a few subscribers short of 2 million subs. Please subscribe right now to the MeidasTouch YouTube channel for free and help us grow this unapologetically pro-democracy network.